Hi friends, hello, good evening. I hope you're doing fantastic. Tonight we're going to have live discussing the most interesting recent immigration news. My name is Alina Shaltsova. I'm a New York immigration lawyer. I hold these live sessions regularly to update you guys with regard to the most recent immigration news, developments, share my thoughts and tips. So please join me, say hello, let me know where you're watching from, of course. Type up your questions and comments so that after I'm done with my presentation, I will read your questions out loud and to the best of my abilities, I will answer them. Today, we're going to be discussing ICE detention of children, what you may do to prepare to such an event if it happens, and why ICE is detaining children, even those who are US citizens. We're also going to talk about new visa rules and, of course, whatever questions you guys have. So please join me. Again, say hello, like and share the stream, of course, and let's start. This is a very hot topic of ICE detaining kids. We've seen multiple reports from Minneapolis where ICE detained kids with parents, and those kids ended up in ICE detention, immigration detention. Some were released, some were transported to different locations. So according to the government, basically it happens because the government denies specific targeting of the children. They're saying the children are being detained with their parents for the kids' safety. Even though, at least on one occasion, there were other responsible adults who could have cared for the kid, this 5-year-old boy, ICE chose to have the child with the father both transported to ICE detention facility. Long story short, I don't think ICE is going to change that practice, not with this administration, not right now. You are probably, just like me, witnessing the pushback that community organized against ICE enforcement operations in Minnesota, but ICE is not backing off, right? And having the same logic applied to the detention and detention of whoever, children as well, I would say that they will not change their practices. So what can you do to avoid this or to prepare for it? The main argument that ICE is using when they grab a child as young as 2 years old, in case of a girl, or 5 years old, they're saying that it's for the safety of the child and not to put a pressure on the parent whose child is being detained to give up their rights and not to fight for the immigration case. Okay. What you need to do is to make sure, at least what you can do, and again, the situation may not completely be avoidable, but what you can do as a parent of a kid like that is to make sure that you get something called standby guardian for your kid. And here I'm going to display the rules and conditions when a standby guardian for your child may be appointed in New York. So standby guardian is not an adoptive parent for your child. You're not going to be giving up your rights as the parent for a child like that. But what's going to happen is that if ICE says that, well, we're going to grab your kid and the kid is going to be transported with you for the kid's safety, you will say, wait a second, I do have somebody who is a standby guardian and will be caring for the child. So now you will know that the child is going to be in a safe place. That's number one. Number two, the child is not going to be used to pressure you to give up your rights and give up your immigration case if you have a case to fight for. Because as you can imagine, if you have a little kid detained with you, all you think of or about in a situation like that is to how to stop this situation, how to reduce the trauma for your child, right? And you don't think about your immigration case at that point. You just want to get out of the detention, even if it means leaving the United States. So please make sure to get that standby guardian for your children. It's a free procedure in the United States. You don't have to pay for it. You will have to go to a family court and request, usually at the pro se desk, if you don't have an attorney or you don't want to hire one, forms for that standby guardian petition. Here are on display New York court rules about when a guardian of that sort can be appointed. Let's say you're arrested or detained is one of the occasions when the standby guardian is going to assume the guardianship of your kid. And the procedures outlined, basically, it's relatively simple, to be honest. You will have to sign a petition with witnesses or consent, and the judge must sign an order appointing a certain person as a standby guardian. Usually, that person will have to be vetted. They will have to give their fingerprints to the authorities, and the authorities will have to make sure that the person, this guardian of your choosing, is not a child abuser and has not been a child abuser. So that's what it is. But now ICE is not going to have a reason, if you do get a standby guardian, to send your kid with you to ICE detention. And again, I strongly believe that this is done to maximize the reduction of your resistance to the ICE enforcement. The procedure is free. You sign and complete a designation form, as you see on the screen displayed on YouTube and Facebook. You have 2 adults sign the Department of the designation of standby guardian form as witnesses, and you submit your paperwork to court. Usually it's done pretty quickly, and if you are in a hurry, you even can ask the court to expedite your request. That's how it's done in New York, right? I am licensed in New York. I know how to do it in New York. In other states, the rules may be slightly different, but I cannot imagine them being overly complicated. All right. So that's what it is with the standby guardians. It's very important to do that. You also should have on you documents proving your identity, of course. You should have on you documents proving that you have an immigration case going on, if you have such a case going on. You do have to have a lawyer lined up if we speak about ICE enforcement in general. And what it also means is that that lawyer should have your G28. This is your authorization for the attorney to be your lawyer, signed on file. It's very important. Why? Well, because technically ICE or any immigration authorities don't have to talk to any lawyer placing any inquiries on your behalf unless and until that lawyer presents that signed by you Form G28. And if you are in detention, it can be very challenging to obtain such a form. So many lawyers nowadays would have this special arrangement, availability retainer, where you pre-hire attorney for, in case of the enforcement, you leave them certain paperwork and they are ready in case you need an attorney at the time, at the difficult time, as a crisis, right? If you are detained. So that's what it is. So you have to be ready. A lot of this trauma can be reduced, not completely avoided, if you do prepare. Now let's move on to the next topic of tonight. It's the new visa rules. Very important topic. Why? Because many of you are watching from overseas. You would like to come to the United States. Some of you are making different arrangements to come to the United States while you're still here, so you have to leave the United States and come back for a variety of reasons. You will be filing for non-immigrant visas or immigrant visas. You need to know that the rules of those visas have changed, the rules applied to the issuance of the visas. Apart from the bans that we have, right, for nationals of certain countries, the new Department of State rules say that you have to file for the visa in the country of your residence or in the country of your nationality. Let's say you're a national of multiple countries, then you can choose where you're going to be filing for your visa. If you are a resident of one country and a national of another, you can file where, in the place where your residence is established, because you will have to show that you do have connections with that country of your residence. And according to the Department of State rules, you should file there, but not must file. So you do have some room to file somewhere else in the third country, but it will be a negative factor when the United States authorities are deciding whether or not to give you a visa. If you file not in the country of your residence and not in the country of your nationality. So you need to prepare for that. There are reports that certain posts, as we call them, refuse to adjudicate applications by people who do not reside in the countries where they file for, and they're not nationals of those countries. And the other posts are friendlier or more friendly towards such applications, so you need to know ahead of time. I can imagine now with H-1B season coming, it will be a very important issue for you, for many of you guys. But also with H-1Bs, you know that this $100,000 fee that now is imposed on employers probably will slash dramatically the number of H-1B petitions filed in the United States. So do you think that number of foreign workers in general is going to drop? Well, guess what people are doing now? Since they cannot file for H-1Bs, they're filing for something else. Do you know what else they're filing for? You can comment. I'm going to save this one for a couple of minutes before I'm going to reveal the new pathway to be able to work in the United States if you cannot obtain H-1B. The most popular pathway that people are choosing, new visas. So you need to know about these new rules. You need to know about all new rules these days so that you maximize your chances of getting where you want to be in terms of your immigration. So the new pathway that people are going after is O1 visa. O1 visas are much easier to receive than EB1, permanent green card, and they're much cheaper than H1Bs. Okay, so lots of students with advanced degrees now are using O1 as an alternative. You also have to keep that in mind, because if you're not a student with advanced degree and you're going to be filing that O1, you need to know that USCIS will be flooded with O1. All right, so just keep that in mind. It's important information because it may affect your chances of getting, again, what you want, what you hope for. And now if you guys have questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. I am an immigration lawyer licensed in New York, in the great state of New York, and been doing this for about 17 and a half, almost 18 years at this point. So let me know what you would like to know. Work visa guys, immigration lawyers do not sponsor people to come to the United States. We only help employers who would like to sponsor people to make the process as efficient as possible and as right as possible. But we do not issue visas to anyone. Hi, Veronica, is it true that 90% of motion to reopen filed with USCIS are denied by USCIS? I-192 was denied under discretion, and ICE arrest parents with US kids, or we can live with them. I'm under ISAP program. Is it true that 90% of motions to reopen denied? In my practice, we have 90% to 99% of approval rate, so I do not know what to tell you. If there is statistics like that, then I would trust it depending on the source, all right? But generally speaking, yes, it's hard to get motion to reopen approved. If we talk about USCIS or EOIR, because you already have negative decision in your file. For whatever reason, the government issued that decision. Why would they change it, right? You will have to persuade them to reopen your case, and it's challenging, but it depends, I guess, on the reasons for the negative decision and the reasons for reopening and the skills of your lawyer. How that lawyer uses the law in your favor matters. What research they do, what do they know, what practice they can cite in your favor, so it matters. Now, can we live with them? Can you live with your children? If you are detained, can you take the kids with you? Absolutely. That's what ICE actually is offering. They say that if you must leave the United States, you have a choice to take your children with you or leaves them with a third safe person. But they're not gonna just allow any person to take care of your kids. The person has to have legal authority to do so. That's why it's important to have a standby guardian, usually a family member or very good family friend who you trust, right? Make sure, of course, they're safe. It's a good individual. You can trust them with your children, at least for a while. If you're on the ISAP program, so ISAP is an alternative to detention. Usually, if you don't violate the conditions of the ISAP program, you're not going to be detained, usually, all right? There is a way also to change ISAP if it's too intrusive, but these days I wouldn't disturb it because it's actually better than being detained, right? Okay. All right, so let's see. Persons, okay, females. Why are females allowed to stay, but men and boys all detained? That's not true. They detained everybody. They detain everybody, regardless of gender. So it's not true, unfortunately, or fortunately, or however you want to look at this. All right. No, I don't see that only men are being targeted. That's just not accurate. All right. Let's see, guys, on TikTok if you have your immigration questions. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for your hearts. Will ICE be able to enter homes without a warrant? High tumbleweeds. Well, ICE gave themselves authority last fall to enter your home without a warrant signed by a judge. They just thought about it, how to get that permission to enter someone's home, because you have to have a judicial warrant, and judges, generally speaking, would not disturb someone's privacy. They turned around and they gave that permission to themselves. They issued an internal memo saying that it's okay to enter someone's home without a judicial warrant. Well, I disagree with this legal concept. Apparently, it was a secret memo that got revealed by a whistleblower or something. And now I think there will be a federal lawsuit, if it has not been filed yet, challenging this internal policy. That's what it is. Will they ultimately prevail? I don't think so. I think, well, I hope that the ultimate court is going to follow long-standing precedents, a line of cases where even under worse circumstances than suspected immigration violation, the courts would not authorize disturbance of one's private residence without a judicial warrant. So I don't think they will prevail here, guys. This is just an administrative violation, such as lack of immigration status, should not give the government authority to storm into your house and grab you out of your home without a judicial warrant. I don't know. Can we say that anything is possible these days? Yeah, I guess, but I hope it will not happen. We're going to see and wait what the United States Supreme Court is going to say. Hi, Maheld. I have an interview appointment in February for marriage visa. Is there anything new for the pause? Well, the pause for the cases is not pause on interviews. It's pause on final decisions if you fall under that ban, pause, okay? So you have to prepare well for your interview, whatever it is, and you have to appear, okay? But you may experience delays in getting the final decision. Hi, Gary, I applied for my I-131 by VAWA. How long it take? My service center is Texas. All right, so you filed for VAWA and you filed I-485 form, a green card application with your VAWA petition, and you submitted also a request for advanced parole, and you would like to know how long it would take to get it. I do not know. It depends on the circumstances of your case. Some people who do have legal entry or authorized entry may receive this authorization very quickly within the first 6 months. Some people may never get the approval because you need to know that some people use VAWA, well, at least that's what USCIS is thinking. Some people use VAWA filings just to receive this advance parole document so that they would travel and fix the lack of the legal entry for the future filings. For that reason, if you previously entered the United States without inspection, you may not receive approval for your I-131 at all. I'm just giving you a warning, okay? Hi, King Urza. Can you travel overseas with green card extensions letter and come back safely? In most cases, yes. As long as you don't have a denial in between or pending charge, you should be fine. All right? All right, let's see. Okay. Thank you guys for your gifts on TikTok. My fiance has interviewed in Rwanda. Will he get his visa afterwards quickly? He is from Afghanistan. Hi, user 679. I don't believe they will get their visa quickly. Unfortunately, I believe they will be stuck in administrative processing just because for nationals of Afghanistan there is a special separate ban, and I don't believe it has been lifted. Okay, I don't believe it has been lifted. All right, let's see if you guys have questions. Hi, Cat Smith. Could you please share, based on your recent cases, is the USCIS office in New York State currently issuing denials after asylum interview, or are all decisions being put on hold? All decisions are being put on hold. They cannot issue negative or positive decision because of the general hold on asylum cases. Okay? Hi, happy Madizolotse. Если родитель подал на политическое убежище, это было несколько лет назад, и сейчас дети становятся совершеннолетними, что произойдет с их статусом? Ничего не произойдет, несмотря на то, что дети уже совершеннолетние, их возраст был заморожен в то время, когда родитель подал на убежище. Sorry, guys, I'm going to translate this later. Детский возраст замораживается, если только ребенок не женится, не выйдет замуж. So the question was, what happens with children's status if they age out, they turn 21 and older, while the asylum case filed by the parent is still pending? So let's say you arrived to the United States, your kids were 10, 11, 14, 17, whatever. You filed your asylum case. Your asylum is pending and pending. Maybe you were called for the interview and case was not granted. You were transferred to court. Maybe you're still waiting for your interview. What happens with the kid? Will kids still be covered by your asylum claim when they age out or not? There is a Child Status Protection Act that actually protects children from aging out in asylum cases. Only if the child stops being a child when they marry someone, then they will fall out of your case, all right? But in other situations, if nothing changes, only the fact that the child gets older, that does not disqualify your child from benefiting from your asylum claim if you win your asylum claim. The child's age froze on the day when the asylum application was received by USCIS or immigration court. What is a DHS letter call-in letter? G56. This is when Department of Homeland Security, ICE, asks you to appear and let them know what's happening with your status. Late November, early December, we got a bunch of these letters. They were basically issued to almost everybody. And we had lots of appearance on, on this, with this situation. None of our clients were deported or detained. I did hear from other lawyers that some immigrants did end up in detention afterwards, right, after such appearances. But mostly what's going on is that ICE want wants to know what's happening with the case. And if they see that the person is still covered by someone's application or fighting for their status, then basically they are let go, right? Can you travel? Yes, I answered that. Let's see what other questions we have. Hi, user 717. I had a deportation years ago, and I have I-797C for I-360 and I-45. Should I go? I'm worried. Should you go where? Where would you like to go? Tell me. Who is calling you to go where? If you did have a deportation order many years ago, you shouldn't be going anywhere. And your I-45 could have been filed usually only with the court, unless you are an arriving alien. So please check with your lawyer what they're filing. Very often I see this mistake made by attorneys. They file I-45 application for a green card with USCIS when the person cannot submit it before USCIS. It must be submitted before the court. All right? So not sure what's going on. Consult with an attorney. You would like to consult with me, call me. 917-885-2261. I do charge for my time during consultations, and I have them Monday through Friday usually. You know, time slots are limited because I also have to do some other work, but my secretaries usually can find something for you. I'm an Asylee from Canada. My son is in Texas, also Asylee. I want to go and see my son. All right, so you are in Canada, that's the situation, and you would like to see your son who is in Texas, but you cannot travel. Is that your question? There is a park in the United States. There is a park, I forgot the name of it, but what is happening is that there is a special park where there is a special bench. Half of the bench is in Canada and another half is in the United States. And families who cannot legally cross the border back and forth can actually meet in that park and talk to each other for some time. So why don't you research that? I know that some clients of mine did just that, so that at least they can see their loved ones, okay? So research, I forgot the name of the place, but I know that it's possible to do that, okay? All right, let's see. After pause finish, will they issue visa to 75 countries? Well, I would think that once the pause is lifted, they will start making decisions on cases. I cannot guarantee you that they will issue visa because that would mean that they would approve the application. How would I know that? But that they will make the decisions, most likely, yes, right? Hi, Hadia, my gender, my nationality, my daughters and I still haven't even received a salary. All right, not sure what it's all about. Presidency. Hi, Tumble, with 18 years of practice, how come you're only 26, right? Ha ha ha, I'm 44. I'm not 26, but thank you. Very nice to hear that. I had a deportation years ago, right? I answered that. Does the I-730 fall under the travel ban, since currently no visas are being issued to anyone? Oh, there are so many travel bans that I can't even tell you. But if we speak about the first travel bans that were installed, people with approved I-730s were specifically exempt from those bans. Now we have new ones. So the travel ban for 75 countries, that is for immigrant visas in connection with public charge. And I-730 does not fall into that category, okay? That I can tell you. The rest is just, we have specific bans for nationals of Afghanistan, for example, and something else and something else. But I believe I-730s should be exempt. However, I also know that a lot of those cases of people from countries that are on different bans, but they're not, they shouldn't be excluded from coming to the United States. So what the government does, what the consulates are doing, they just place them in administrative processing. Administrative processing is not a denial, so technically they avoid issuing a denial to you. Hopefully it's not going to happen to you, okay? I heard that Trump banned green card holders from traveling. Is it true? No, it's not true. No, not true, guys. Not true. Can they detain you if you're waiting for written decision for EOIR 42? Yes, they can. My lawyer made a mistake. The biometrics appointment in a different state from where I live. What can I do? Hi, Laura. What can you do? Well, you have option number one. Travel to that state that actually called you to come in. Option number two, reschedule your biometrics appointment. Option number three, just to show up at the biometrics center where you live and ask them to do your biometrics. Believe it or not, sometimes it works. Okay, so you will comply with your biometrics in your state. Thank you very much for this wonderful swan thing. That was pretty. You are welcome, Tumbleweed. Can they detain you? Yes, they can. Right, guys, so check this out. If you have a pending status, they can detain you. A pending something is not status that protects you from being detained and subject to enforcement. If you have pending I-130, pending TPS, pending U4U, pending I-45, that doesn't give you any protection from detention. Will they detain you? That's a different question. In most cases, they won't, because you will get out of the detention, right? So having something going on for you usually reduces your chances of being picked up, just because the government knows you will be able to fix your status, but it's not a complete shield from the enforcement, all right? Please understand that. What happened to DV Lottery 2027? Will they open this year? I do not know. I think it was indefinitely postponed according to the DHS secretary. It will reopen at some point, but when? I cannot tell you, unfortunately. All right, let's see. Thank you, Laura. Can I travel to a banned country with my green card? Green card holders always were able to come back to the United States. All right, so I think you should be able to legally, but will the government follow the law? I do not know. For that reason, I don't recommend anyone to travel overseas, okay? Do you know if people with deferred action protection or people with U visa will be back again? With deferred action protection, let me know what you mean by that. If you do have a valid deferred action, you should not be subject to any enforcement. A U visa pending by itself does not give you any protection. It's a factor that ICE takes into consideration when they make a decision whether or not to enforce the laws against you. That's all right? Thank you guys for sharing this stream, and thank you for liking it. Let's see. Where are you reading all this? Hi, Monica. Let me know what all this is. Oh, God. Guys, listen. I'm not giving out here English lessons. If you are not happy and looking for something else, just go somewhere else, please. All right? I can only tell you this. Despite of my English problems, my office wins 97 to 98% of all the cases. You speak perfect English? Show me how many cases you won, okay? If my passport was revoked because of error from Department of State, is that considered a false claim? No. Usually, if you did not make a mistake, right, and you did not intentionally misrepresented anything, you should not be charged with a false claim of citizenship. Even though it's an interesting, very interesting topic, because if you read the law on this topic about false claims of US citizenship, they have just very, very narrow exceptions to what is and what is not the false claims of false claim of US citizenship. They say that generally speaking, you have to show that both of your parents became citizens prior to you turning 18 and you believe that you were a citizen. It's like, come on. There are other situations there, but in your specific situation, I don't think that it was on you, that mistake, right? It was something that you were not aware of. So the element of intent would be lacking here, right? Hi, and it's 120 days after interview for green card based on marriage with a US citizen. Is it normal? Kind of long. I wouldn't say it's normal. Normal is when you are given green card within 2 weeks after the interview. It means that the government is testing something. They're doing some other research, but it not necessarily means that you're going to have a denial, right? Oh, can't I have a green? Can I have a green card now after revocation? Uh, Usually, if your citizenship was revoked as a result of an error, usually you would have to have a separate basis for your green card to file for a new basis. You won't be able to use the one that you used before, right? So usually, generally speaking, you should consult with an attorney to see what is it can be done, how you can get your status back, and what bars potentially can apply to you. That's how it's done. Okay. Thank you very much, Maria. Hi, Tini. Thank you, guys. Okay, let's see. Hi, Rasmu. Do you think because of this pause, processes for the unbanned countries will speed up with USCIS? Oh, that's a clever question. So since they paused the cases for all these other countries, will the countries that are not on the list see faster processing? You would hope for that, right? But I don't think so. And I'm going to tell you why I don't think so. Because you know why they took the pause? It's not because they want to punish you, as they said. No, they said that they will be reviewing the cases that were previously filed to find fraud in those cases. So I think they will be busy looking for evidence of fraud rather than adjudicating other cases that are not on the list, the cases of people who are not on the list of those countries. Okay. Hi, ABCD. Hi, Alina. Is VAWA pending with I-45 and work authorization and deferred action with U visa pending protected enough? No, that's the problem, guys. Unfortunately, pending cases do not protect you against anything. And it's good that you have something going on. You may even receive a work permit, but work permit does not protect you against anything. Nowadays, ICE apparently caught up on this situation with work permits, and they go around with videos circulating on TikTok saying that just because you have a work permit, that doesn't mean you're illegal. So they're grabbing people who have work permits and some people, not everybody. And they say to these people that now you're going to have a chance of your case being adjudicated faster in immigration court. There is a video like that on TikTok where a person filmed ICE officer saying this information. Well, at least if the video is real, all right? So unfortunately, pending stuff does not protect you from deportation. Okay? Is asylum still accepted? Hi, Kareem. Absolutely. Asylum cases of nationals of those people from the 75 countries, other countries, are being accepted. The deadlines have not changed. You have to file your case especially if you're facing a deadline. But what is paused? Decisions only. Only the final merit decisions, right? Peace Arch State Park, Tumbleweed, you may be right. Yes, that's the park where you can see a loved one from Canada if you're in the United States and you cannot travel there. And for one thing, I'm asking you all, do not travel to Niagara Falls, all right? If you are coming from the United States side, why? I personally have not been there. I don't remember being there. I do not know how it happens, but tons of immigrants who are driving to Niagara Falls get confused and somehow end up in Canada. Because apparently it's very easy to end up in Canada when you are in that area. And then you have to turn around and you have to come back. But when you're trying to come back from Canadian side to the United States, you get stopped by the CBP. And I have a lot of clients who were stopped like that and ended up in removal proceedings. They were allowed to enter back to the United States, but now they're under removal proceedings. So please do not go there, all right? Unless you become, and until and unless you become a green card holder or US citizen, don't go to Niagara Falls. All right, let's see. I'm going to take one last question for tonight. Are people getting their work permit marriage-based work permit based on marriage green card pending? Yes, of course. Yes, we do get those work permits. The best work permit that you have right now, the fastest work permit that you can have right now is the asylum pending work permit, the first one. Those work permits must be adjudicated within 30 days under the federal lawsuit. So it's really, really fast. Okay. It's 47 days since USS received my married evidence. What should I do? Nothing. You have to wait. 47 days is nothing. It's not some, a time of concern. Hi, Tumbleweeds. Your English is great. You are a bilingual attorney. I am a bilingual attorney. Thank you, Tumbleweeds. Listen, I hear some people who were born in the United States and make a lot of grammatical errors. I don't run around after them and saying, hey, you do not know your grammar. No, I don't do that. And lots of people in the United States have different accents, and that's totally fine. The funny part, like you saw those videos, and I think I reposted them, where an immigrant and an ICE officer, they have the same accent, and they are fighting with each other, basically. There is this animosity going on. It's just crazy, man, based on those accents, hunting people. It's terrible. Do I have a T visa case? If he withhold hours, do my electrical license? All right, this is how it goes. If you worked in the United States for an employer for a certain amount of hours, you must be paid for all of those hours, okay? If someone says that they're not going to pay you full wages, you have to go to see a labor lawyer in your state. They will know the rules. What is the minimum wage in your state? What's the federal minimum wage is like tiers, it's nothing, but the state minimum wage, what other rules about how you were supposed to be paid would apply to you, like spread of hours claim, overtime claim. And if your employer violated those rules, yes, you may qualify for a T visa, okay? If the employer used you knowing about you, lack of your status, and they threatened you that you're going to work for them, however many hours they tell you, under whatever conditions they tell you, because they know you are afraid to complain about them because of your status. That's a T visa, right? That's a T visa. Violations of safety rules, violations of labor laws, that's a T visa, right? Your wall color matches your blouse. So beautiful. I'm trying, I'm trying, yes. You can leave, you can spend your life in black and white, or you can have colors. And it's not only true for objects, it's all true for everything else. Okay? Happy Madi Zolotse. I do not understand why I cannot go to Niagara Falls. You can go to Niagara Falls at your own risk. The reason why I don't recommend people going to Niagara Falls is because many of you guys end up on the other side in Canada. And when you're trying to get back, yes, you won't be able to get back, whether you're waiting for a political asylum interview or something else, because you cannot travel out of the United States without previous authorization, usually when you have a pending case. So please do not go there. All right, let me take late questions. I reported him to TDIR and he threatened to deport me. That's funny. All right, well, guys, I do not know what state you're in. I'm sorry. But if somebody threatens to deport you, I know it sounds interesting, especially now when you're hearing all this news, but in New York, if somebody is threatening you with deportation because of your immigration status, that's a misdemeanor and it can rise up to a felony. And actually, based on that, you can get your status. All right. So if somebody's trying to force you to give up your right to complain to an administrative agency, just generally threatens you with your status, report them to the cops in New York, okay? And see what's going to happen afterwards. That's what's going to happen. They will be the ones who are going to, bear the consequences of what they're saying and what they're doing. Counsel, any luck arguing for CAA for EWI released without parole paperwork? Let me please give me some background on what a CAA is. Parole paperwork, without the parole paperwork. If you entered without inspection and you're trying to argue that you were waived in, the waived in exception, generally speaking, is not being accepted in New York and most states. However, in certain states like California, I believe in Florida too, if you follow certain rules, you have to produce affidavits by 2 witnesses who witnessed you at that time of being waived in. You present credible evidence and circumstances in detail. You describe the circumstances of you being waived in. Then you may be able to prevail on the argument that you were waived in, if that's the question. All right. But in all other situations, a person who entered the United States without inspection and was not paroled will not be able to argue that they have grounds to be treated as somebody who was admitted or paroled. Okay? Guys, don't forget to follow if you're watching me on TikTok or on other social media so that we can reconnect again. All right, let's see. What was in second stock? Okay, I'm gonna try to make sense out of it. I apologize. Stokes interview in November with my husband. He came through CBP1. The I-130 got approved after 1 month, but I-45 still not. Should be concerned about that. CBP1 and 3 with parole, because that's what it was, qualifies for adjustment of status. So I do not believe this is why they're holding the case, okay? They shouldn't be holding based on that. I have tons of cases approved when the person entered the United States with parole and CBP1 or DT parole, and they all were approved. Unless there is something else going on, and you said that I-130 was approved, I-45 should be approved. The person is considered to be an arriving alien, and USCIS does have jurisdiction over them. But sometimes we see some other patterns, something not what I just described. So maybe there is something else going on. Okay. Where is your office located? Well, my office is in New York. That's where my office is. Thank you, notification, for your gift. Do you take cases for immigrants come from the border? Yes, of course. We work with immigrants who enter the United States various ways. Whether we will be able to fix your status or help you depends on qualifications for various reliefs. If you're in removal proceedings, for example, right? Every person will have different set of facts and hence different availability, opportunity to fix their status. Can an Asylee use their country of origin passport to travel to another country? Better not to. Sometimes you will have to, you won't have a choice, but it should be avoided unless there is an emergency. It should be avoided. When you receive asylum, you give up that home country of yours for good with all its benefits and protections, including opportunity to use their passport. What you should be using is the refugee travel document issued to you by the United States government. However, until this administration, generally speaking, there was an understanding that there may certain circumstances where you would have to use that passport for emergencies usually. But I would say avoid that if possible. American citizen in Europe will never return to the United States. What is the easiest way to renounce citizenship? SYM, there is no easy way to renounce your citizenship. And from what I know, even when you renounce your citizenship, you still have to pay United States taxes for 3 years or something. So unfortunately, there is no easy way to do that. There is a process. Yes, you can renounce your US citizenship. But as I said, it usually comes with more disadvantages than advantages. But if you are set on doing that for whatever reason, then first consult not with an immigration lawyer, consult with a CPA. See what tax consequences you're going to have to bear after you decide to give up your blue passport. Okay. Is it safe for asylum seekers to travel domestically in the United States right now? No, it's not safe. It's not safe. You all saw the news. Guys, why you keep asking this question? You saw the news that the TSA immediately gives you information to ICE. So how would I, as an immigration lawyer, tell you it is safe when you don't have a status and you would like to go somewhere, right? And if they are if that day, for example, they don't have quotas met, you can be picked up. Do you want that? I don't think so. I'm never going to visit nor step foot on American soil. I will have a blue passport burning party. Maybe that's how you feel right now, right? Maybe that's how you feel right now. One thing that I would tell you that whatever you watch online, whatever you see on TV, please understand that it's just, it is important to know what's going on, but it's not necessarily going to be your life and your experience. And you just take it, try not to take it too personally, all right? Because I've seen so many people, like they're packing their bags, they're scared, or they're leaving the United States, even though it is their home country, because they're so disappointed. Just make sure you make the best decision, and it's going to be long-lasting decision. If it's going to be long-lasting decision, don't make it under the influence of the news, right? Unless there's something personal going on in your life. General information that you see online should not be the factor when you are packing up your bags, right? And the SYM, do you still have family in the United States? I mean, at some point, if you do have family, you would want to see them, all right? Hi, I'm Syrian on F1 OPT and have pending asylum case. Can I adjust status? Our case is approval suspended. Approval suspended. Approval suspended. What if OPT period is about to end? So you're on OPT, you still have lawful status, and you would like to adjust status. If you have a basis for adjustment, an I-140 that is current and approved, I-130, then you can file for it, of course. All right. Will they make a decision if you are from the countries on the ban list? Probably they won't, but you would like to, if you can, file your adjustment case prior to the expiration of your lawful non-immigrant status while you're still on OPT, because asylum pending is not lawful non-immigrant status, okay? Can I get F1 visa using Empower loan from Kenya? I don't know what Empower loan from Kenya is. I apologize. I'm a US citizen. My wife went to embassy for review. They kept her passport a week ago. All right, so Roberto, that's very common that they keep passport after the interview for longer than a day or two. If she will need her passport and the decision is not made next week, you can just ask for the passport to be returned to her if she's placed in administrative processing. So I would first contact your attorney to see what their advice would be, because I don't know the situation. And if there were no grounds to believe that your wife is inadmissible, the visa should be issued, right? And you make a decision whether you're going to wait for a little bit longer for them to issue the visa, or you're going to ask for the passport back. But at that point, the consulate must tell you what's going on. They either deny visa or they refuse what's called refused visa and place her in administrative processing. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We spent almost an hour together. I hope you enjoyed this stream. If so, please like and share it. Don't forget to sign up for my social media and stay safe. And I hope to see you guys soon.